Hi, I'm David Dobiasic, the newly anointed voice of the best thriller books. I'm here to introduce the review team's top 5 books of 2020. This video will include the team's picks from number 5 to number 2. Hey, I had a top 5 list. Why wasn't I asked to do this?
Hi, everyone. We are the review team at Best Thriller Books, and we have our top 5 of 2020. And so we're going to go around and give you our top 5 and then talk about it a little. So we will start with our number 5 pick, and we will start with Todd.
All right. This book, it was tough. It was really tough getting down to 5. But this book in particular snuck in ahead of some other big names. It is Hunter Killer from Brad Taylor. Just a quick blurb for me is set in Brazil. My wife Brazilian. I live there, so of course that personal connection was going to get a little more love from me. But really, it was the small details that Brad put in there, along with kind of Pike's trip down the rabbit hole into a little bit of a dark spot for him that really set this book apart from the other big names for me. So that's why it snuck into my top 5.
Nice. Sarah, what about you?
All right, so I am going with One True Patriot by Sean Parnell. And so this is the third Eric Steele novel. And I like books that are like really deeply personal and just kind of like delves into just kind of like what makes people tick kind of thing. And I loved it because it started going more personal and just more challenging for Eric. So that's my number 5.
Nice. I wasn't expecting that. What about you, Derek?
Well, I had a hard time getting 5. So I've got 2 that tied at 5. Without Sanction, Don Bentley's, debut novel, great novel, introduced us to a new good character, and then Ward Larson's Assassin Strike. This was my first reading of Ward's book, and I know that this wasn't the first one in the Assassin series, but the thrills and the action in this book, in both, incredible. Both great reads.
I think both you and Steve cheated with this number 5 pick, but Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I cheated too. I picked 2. There's so many good thrillers this year. I mean, the list is longer than my hair, right? So I had to cheat a little bit. So I picked 2, and these 2 I picked because I'm a sucker for strong female protagonists. So I've got Chris Howdy's Deep State, Haley Chill, great new character, and this book has maybe the best twist I've ever read in a thriller. So it had to be in my top 5. And then Dark Corners of the Night by Meg Gardner. This book scared the bejesus out of me. I couldn't sleep for days afterwards, and I loved it. The whole series is great. So yeah, 2 strong female characters in my top 5.
Nice. What about you, Chris?
My number 5 this year was Brad Taylor's Hunter Killer. I absolutely love Brad Taylor's work. I can't get enough of Pike Logan, but one of the main things that I like about it is Brad lives right downtown Charleston. I'm very close. I'm only about 30 minutes away. So every one of his books has a Charleston connection to it in some way, shape, or form. So that's really cool for me. I think on this book, you get to see a little bit of a growth in the private life of Pike and then Coco, Cahill, and how they interact and how they're growing together with, having somebody else in their lives now. And I'm trying not to give away spoilers, but when they have somebody else in their lives, it's really cool that you get to see the growth of somebody, especially a door kicker like that. I just think it's really cool. So Hunter Killer was my number 5 this year.
Nice. Yeah, Brad Taylor has developed some amazing characters, like just over the course of the entire series, like introduced new characters. Yeah, that's a great one. Kashif, what about you?
Okay, so I think I might be not in the majority here, but my the 5th book I would say in the top 5 list would be, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's the Born Evolution by Brian Freeman. And the reason I actually chose this was because I'm a huge Bourne fan from the Ludlum times, and just seeing what he's done with the character that engineered, but also keeping to the roots of Bourne, as well as in sticking to some generic formula about a nation as the antagonist, but rather the hidden deep state and kind of, you'd say, masterminds behind the scenes. The antagonist keeping that in light. That was something that I really loved and I found fresh in the genre. So I would go for Bourne Evolution that.
Okay. I think out of everyone, and no offense to anyone, not that you would take offense anyways, but I think I was most looking forward to Kashif's list because I figured it might be some books that I've actually never even read before or heard of. So that's great. So I'm surprised because my number 5 is actually one that someone's already said. So already in our 5th place, we're gonna have 2 between Brad Taylor's Hunter Killer and between mine and Steve's. I had The Dark Corners of the Night by Meg Gardner as well. I just think it's a different type of thriller that I don't typically read. Usually I'm more in the military type area. And like Steve said, this is a very scary book. I'm a huge audiobook person, so I listened to a lot of the books, and the narrator, Hillary Huber, was fantastic. And it's one of those books where I remember where I was when I was listening to certain parts of it. It happened to be like 10 p.m. at night, and I was driving down a backcountry road, and that was not comforting at all. So yes, a great book by Meg Gardner that came out right at the beginning of 2020. So yeah. So there's our top 5. We're going to keep moving right to number 4. I'm trying to keep a list of everyone's top 5 so I have them at the end. Todd, number 4.
All right. It just got mentioned a little bit ago, but Without Sanction by Don Bentley. Basically for the same reason that was talked about earlier. Relatable characters, fantastic action scenes, and really just there's that gallows humor that's just kind of sprinkled throughout there that I absolutely love. And I also think Don did a great job of kind of exploring the aftermath of warfare and how each individual kind of deals with it. And I think he has a very unique look at Matt Drake's struggle with that. So that's why I loved it.
Awesome. What about you, Sarah?
So my number 4 pick is Near Dark by Brad Thor. And I liked it because, so it's the 3rd book in like great big story arc. And it's retribution. And that was just kind of it's a cool idea to me, or just because in the last book, no spoilers, Harvath was alone, but now he's with the team again and just going out for retribution on that. And it was just, again, it was kind of like what makes people tick book kind of again for me, which I liked. And also we have the introduction of a really new kick-ass female character, which I love. And so that's why it was my number 4 pick.
Great. Okay. What about you, Derek?
Mine is from a series that my good friend, Mr. Chris Miller, got me started on, Collateral. These guys are great. This book is talk about retribution, Sarah. This book is all about retribution, going after the Russian team that took out their team. This is just Dempsey at his best. And we also get to see one of Sarah's favorite characters, Lady Grimes, in here. She's our Lady Grimes, so or Coco, whatever we want to call her. Just a great book, great series. I'll read this one forever. And Chris, I thank you for turning me on to this series because this is awesome. That's my number 4.
Great. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, Derek, that's a great pick. It pained me to leave those guys off my top 5. They're right there. So I went with Simon Gervais, Time to Hunt. Pierce Hunt is one of the coolest characters in the genre. It's the 3rd book in the series. It's about betrayal and loyalty and family, and there's tons of great action. And Pierce Hunt is just one of the biggest badasses in the genre. But there's also some emotion in the book too. It does a good job of connecting the reader to kind of what Pierce is going through. And I thought it was fantastic. I think the whole series is fantastic and one that everyone should be reading.
Definitely. I do think he's one of the more underrated authors in the thriller genre. Definitely. What about you, Chris?
All right, so right along the lines of Derek, Collateral is my number 4. Andrews and Wilson have been, since Tier 1 dropped, War Shadows, Crusader 1, the whole series, I think their characters are more than just a lead and secondary characters. Their books have, to me, multiple lead characters, and that's why you're seeing the Scars break off, you're seeing the Sons of Valor with Chunk. I think they've done a great job with being able to write how they do. One writes one chapter, one writes another, then they swap them, they go back and look and say, hey, this is what we want to do with it. I also like that in a lot of stories, you lose the main character and you feel like you're losing the sense of where the storyline's going. But with this team, with Ember, you don't lose that, and this story, like Derek said, a lot of retaliation for Ember's compound being struck. Like, I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was just a great continuation on the series, and I absolutely love Elizabeth Grimes. She's a phenomenal character, but John Dempsey, Jack Kemper, whatever you want to call him, there's just nothing like Andrews and Wilson's writing in the military thriller. I love it in the military thriller genre, and I love it.
I'm constantly impressed with how they pull off that writing style. Like,
It's seamless.
one writing, one chapter. What's that?
It's seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing that two people can write the same book and have it, be seamless. All right, Kashif, number 4.
Yeah. So for me, I hope you guys can see it. This is The Drone Strike by David Austin. And I had the pleasure of being able to read his work really early on. And I was immediately in love with his work, just how he develops the characters, the camaraderie between the two different, between teams and between the Brotherhood. And of course, the idea of a rogue drone, I would say, I won't give any spoilers, but a rogue drone going around. And again, the action sequences are amazing, and I wouldn't say they are like second to any other book. So, yep, Drone Strike for me.
Awesome. All right, so for my number 4, I had Kyle Mills's Total Power. I struggled with where to put this book because it was a lot of the books. I think everyone can attest to this, but it was kind of a crapshoot with where you put the books because a lot of times I know I had like 3 books that were all contending for my number 1 spot and trying to figure out where to work in Total Power. But I thought Total Power had the plot in and of itself was very original and seemed all too real. And it was scary. And I just love Mitch Rapp and what Kyle Mills has done with Claudia Gould and all this different cast of characters that Vince Flynn originated, and the direction he's taken the series, and especially the way he's injected his humor into all the books. Vince Flynn always seemed to be a little less on the humor side and more just straight action. And I noticed right away with Kyle Mills, especially in Order to Kill, that humor really shining through. So I had Total Power by Kyle Mills and Vince Flynn. All righty, moving on to number 3, Todd. We're in the top 3.
All right. Well, since we just talked about it, boop, I'll take my arc and the book itself. Time to Hunt. So, I will just say, as we talked about him being underappreciated, for me personally, this book takes him up into that next echelon of those big writers for me. The Thors, the Mills, Taylors, Carrs. Like I cannot say enough positive things about this series, and in particular this book. I read this was the first book of Simon's I've read, so he was nice enough to shoot me an arc. I read it in a single day. I immediately went to my local bookstore and grabbed the other 2 and read those in back-to-back days. The series is that good, and Simon is that good of a writer. So what everyone else said, but it's awesome. Definitely check it out.
Andy's Canadian, like the best of us.
What's that to boot?
All right. Sarah, you're number 3?